Hey, Change Podcast family, how you doing? Today, we are honored to have a very special guest. This guest is an expert in helping us parents figure out what we're doing, right? So I know that many of you in my online community have asked for support in different areas, and I know parenting is one of them. And so we are excited to have the Elyse Jones with us today. Welcome, Elyse.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.
So I know that you're awesome, but can you let our online family know a little bit about you?
Absolutely. So, as David said, my name is Elyse. I'm a wife and mother of two. I'm also an adrenaline junkie when it comes to like certain extreme sports and excursions. Yes. It is true, David. And I'm
Wow.
also a product of gentle parenting, even though my parents did not, have that term per se when I was coming up, but I'm definitely a product of gentle parenting.
Well, okay, hold on. I'm curious about that adrenaline. Like, are you the kind of person who likes to go bungee
Okay,
jumping?
that is the only thing that is ridiculous. No, but I have gone. But skydiving, scuba diving, that kind of stuff. But that's funny. Bungee jumping is like, that's the line right there. Like that's silly.
Wow, thank you. We learned some stuff on the podcast. All right. So that is wonderful. Now, how did this adrenaline junkie find purpose in helping people with their parenting?
So what's so interesting? So my background is a mental health professional. I'm a licensed clinician. So all my life, right, in schooling and get my bachelor's and my master's, I have always studied child development, child psychology, all these different concepts, right, as it relates to the child. And so I knew the textbook, right, response to these different things, even as I was serving in the school system as a school social worker. But it like just literally all came together when I became a parent, right? So it's like, yes, I'm reading the books. Yes, I'm doing this work. I'm testing the theories, in my day-to-day job. But when I like had to apply that as a parent, like it just brought a whole different perspective. And I know some people who probably wanted like, so my kids are just 4 and 2 years old. So it's like, okay, so hold on, you a certified parenting coach because you successfully raised a 4-year-old, and 2-year-old is like, no, like I have been studying this for over the last decade plus, right? But it did just bring a totally different experience and lens actually becoming a parent that I just appreciate so much. And that's what brought the passion to be like, oh my God, like this is something that we need, especially within our community.
Wow. Okay, so I have an 18-year-old and my daughter, as I mentioned to you before our broadcast, that my daughter is turning 9. Hi, Maya. Is turning 9 this Thursday. And so I feel like I need a parenting course. I mean, I need help. What are some of the common problems that you find parents have with their parenting?
Man, a common reality is that a lot of people are parenting their own child while trying to raise their inner child or while trying to heal their inner child. And so what I see as a common reality is that many parents have not healed from their own childhood trauma. And so a lot of time they're responding to their child in a way that they literally learn in their own childhood. So I recognize that a lot of parents, especially in the African American community, are literally struggling, right? To raise their child while trying to heal their inner child, but also we're recycling a lot of habits that are leading to intergenerational trauma. So, like I mentioned, as a licensed clinician, as a certified parenting coach, and a mom of two, like I am passionate about equipping parents with the tools to shift from coercion to connection.
Mm. Ooh, hold on. I mean, are you a preacher too? Lord, from coercion to
We're done
connection.
with Mr. David. Here.
Oh, hold on. Like, can you unpack that for us? From
That's
coercion.
funny.
Come on,
Mm.
unpack that for us. That sounds like some good stuff. I mean, from coercion to connection. Like,
I mean, because think about that. Coercion is like using force, right? Is using threats to get something. And it's like, when has that ever worked in a way that kept the relationship intact? And so when we use those methods, like, yes, short term, it works in a sense of getting the desired action. But that's why you have people growing up who no longer communicate with parents, right? Or are totally disrespectful when they have the autonomy and the liberty and the independence to do so because they're at a certain age. And so it's like, but what if, imagine a world, right, where we kept the relationship intact, where connection was the focus, and we use that to drive, you know, our kids to the right path versus the coercion. And so it's just really a huge mindset shift, a paradigm shift. But I believe it's how God intended it to be, right? We see this, God gently parents us, right? And so why do we feel like we have to use all these tactics that he doesn't use with us, to be honest? So
wow, okay. Well, hold on. Well, okay, so hold on. I'm ready to sign up. Hold on. Hold on. So now, honestly, you know, as a parent, I reflect daily, like, Lord have mercy. When I was growing up, my parents would say this, and I'd be like, okay, and I would just do it because I don't want the wrath of mom or dad, you know? And I'm like, okay, but how come my you know, mine, how come they don't have that same paradigm thing? But I hear what you're saying. Like, it's the best place to have the relationship and have the positivity out of keeping the relationship intact, as opposed to people operating just in fear. And as soon as they're out, they're like, peace. So I hear you. I'm like, I'm all ready to learn strategy. So here's the question that I have for you. How is it that you can train us parents to be able to learn what you've over the last 10 years, what you've synthesized? How do you have a course? Do you have a community that we join? Is there something down the pipeline? What is it that is your method of retraining as parents to be able to do what we need to do and heal from our past traumas?
Yes. So yes, David, there is a course that I am super excited about. First launched a few months ago and is reopening soon. And so it's called Reparenting: Tools to Help Heal Your Inner Child While Raising One. And so this course is packed. When I say it's packed, David, it has so much great content. I'm gonna just tell you about some of the modules. So module 1 is talking about how it didn't start with me. So again, intergenerational trauma. This is a habit. One thing I do not claim or talk about in a sense of traditionally is generational curses. I believe, as a blood-bought believer whose bloodline has been cleansed, how can I be cursed with anything? Like, no, I can't be cursed. I'm blessed, right? I can't be singing I'm blessed over here, then cursed over here. No, blessed, right? But there is something called generational patterns. Those are those habits that are passed down, whether through observation, even through something scientific called epigenetics. Now I'm going into that too deep, but it's a habit, right? It's a pattern that is passed down from not because you're cursed, right? But because it's a habit that has not been interrupted. And so in this reparenting course, we talk about how it didn't start with you, whatever that is, when that parenting style, whether that's your form of discipline or whatever, it did not start with you. So let's unpack that. Where did this start? Let's get to the bottom of, let's dig up those roots, right? So we can replant something else we want to see grow. And so then after that module, we talked about, they're called feelings and not fixings, right? So many people, adults these days, grew up in environments where feelings were not allowed. And it's like, what? Does that make sense? Like, these are God-given tool, right? But we never, a lot of people, a lot of adults never had the space or the language to talk about their emotions and their feelings. And so in this course, in module 2, we talk about, again, they're called feelings and not fixings, allowing kids to feel what they feel without trying to fix it, without trying to stop it, without trying to discipline it, but allowing kids to just simply feel what they feel so they can grow and be emotionally intelligent. Then the last module is called We're Not Matching Energy, because we not matching energy. So learning how to self-regulate so we can co-regulate with our kids and giving them the skills to learn how to not just process their emotions, but how to respond in a way that's healthy. That's literally what emotional intelligence is. Being able to be in situations and have the understanding, the language, the vocabulary to regulate yourself, and the tool. That's a skill, right? You have to be taught how to regulate. And so we not matching energy is basically parents being equipped to know how to, one, how do I get myself grounded when I'm ready to pop off, right? When I'm ready to match that energy, what tools do I need to get myself together? But then how can I model that and teach that to my kids? That's their generational, right? So we're interrupting patterns. So now I know how to regulate, my kids know how to regulate, generation down the line know how to regulate. Like, that is generational blessings.
Okay. Okay, so the information sounds exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So is it a series of videos? Do I have homework I gotta do? Is there like, do I have to interact with other people, or is this something I do on my own? Like, what are like the nitty gritty of the actual?
Absolutely, good question. So it is a cohort of individuals. It is self-paced. Okay, there is actually a whole workbook that is included with different assignments. You can follow through the modules in the workbook. You have self-reflection that's happening, and then I will offer, and that's for the people who sign up. You get the details on that. I offer live Zooms as well. Just if you're like me, I like a space to ask questions, right? Because if I'm hearing something, if I'm reading something, I'm like, like I just want a space to ask, but I want to provide that for my parents who sign up. So there will be a few live Zooms offered just for parents who are working through. They can come and ask those questions and just get clarity on anything that's kind of still lingering from their time with the course.
Okay, so I know lots of parents that might be like myself, who this would be a godsend for them. How do people connect with you to get this course?
Absolutely. So right now the waiting list is growing. So I would urge anyone who is interested, be sure to join that waiting list. You can go to my Instagram page, which is Parenting 4 the Culture. Again, that's Parenting 4 the Culture, Parenting for the Culture. On IG and in my bio, you can find that link to join the waiting list.
Okay, so so just to recap, what are the best ways for people to reach out to you if they need your help?
So again, joining, following along on IG is a great way, as well as Facebook, which is Parenting for the Culture, all spelled out, Parenting FOR the Culture on Facebook to reach me.
So the difference between Facebook and IG is that you use the number 4 on IG, but you have to spell out the word on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But yes, that is correct, David. Thank you.
Okay. Now, this next part is just especially for me, because I was so excited. One day you and I were talking and you mentioned how the 5 love languages affect like parenting. Can you just like, so I was someone, when I did my premarital class, I learned about the 5 love languages. And I was like, oh, this is some good stuff. And in life, I've learned that I've had challenges in relationships because I'm trying to give people what it's not their love language. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. So when you said that, I was like, well, I hope I'm not messing up as a parent. I'm trying to love my child in a way that's not their love language. So please explain to us about the 5 love languages and what do they have to do with parenting?
Yes, absolutely. Can I just first say, I heard you say messing up as a parent. I just think it's so important that all parents hear and all parents are reminded of the fact that all of us are parenting the best way we know how with the tools that we have, right? So shout out to the parents who are actively searching for more tools, right? Because we're all doing the best we can with what we know, right? So that's just my first thing, that parents are amazing and are doing an amazing work. So don't think of it as messing up, right? But just looking for opportunities to grow and expand. Just had to say that, David. But to answer your question, so 5 love languages. So if anyone's not familiar with those in particular, most people are in this day and time, right? 5 love languages are these 5 things originally created by David Chapman.
Okay.
which is basically an idea that these 5 ways, right, are different ways that people, human beings, either like to give or receive love. And so a lot of people think of this like in a romantic sense all the time, but like the love languages like is a human concept, and kids are human, right? And so
Okay.
just like in a romantic relationship, there are things that, that we appreciate receiving or not doing right. We all have a tendency or a way that we feel most love, and the basis is kids are the exact same way. And so when we think about those 5 love languages, I'm gonna name them off in case anyone's not familiar. There are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And so kids, again, most likely feel most loved out of one of, they don't mean that it has to be just one. Usually we all, dabble in all 5, but we usually have 1 or 2 that's primary. And so what's so interesting though, this is where our conversation came in, David. What's so interesting about the love languages, that when you think about those 5 love languages, there is a punishment language that aligns with each one. So like I said, words of affirmation. Think about the parent who usually punished by yelling or insulting the child, right? Quality time, the child who is isolated or put in time out when they have done something unacceptable. Receiving gifts, the child who is punished for having things taken away, right? That's the opposite of receiving gifts. Acts of service, the child who is forced to do chores as a result of this. And then we have physical touch. We know, some people say spankings, I call them whoopings, right? So physical touch, the opposite of that is getting a whooping. And so it's so amazing to see that these ways that people love banks are filled. We often see children being disciplined in ways that are completely opposite of that. And that just has proven to just have some really detrimental outcomes that are just not okay and just need to be talked about a little more.
Help me now. So let's just say that my son, if touch is his love language, so a whooping's not a good idea for him. That's what I hear you saying, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So what would be a better choice of consequence?
And unfortunately, that is not like black and white, right? It's not like this formula, but okay. This is my thing, okay? Behavior is always communicating a need. So when something is happening, so for example, even with my kids, again, I know my babies are still young, 4 and 2 years old, but even then, right, when something is happening, I'm asking myself, what does my child still need to learn? That's the question. What does my child still need to learn? And based on that, that is how discipline should be decided. That's another thing. It's the difference between discipline and punishment. So all those things I just listed off that are opposite of love language, those are punishments. Punishment is you about to get this because you did it. Like I'm about to give it to you. Like you're going to regret what happened. Right? You're going to regret the decision you made. Versus discipline literally means to teach. It means to teach. And so if I'm changing my mind and my paradigm, right, on what does my child need to learn? Now I'm able to effectively discipline them to where they are walking away from this moment, this encounter with some skills that they can use for the rest of their lives. So to answer your question, it depends on what your child did, right? So with your son, it will depend on like, what does he need to learn from that situation? And if I can give an example really quick, David, so like I said, I'm in the school system as a school social worker. And there was a situation one time where this is a middle school setting, some young ladies brought a lighter to school. And some other students reported they saw them in class playing with the lighter, okay? And so, admin going through the handbook, trying to see what needs to happen, what needs to happen as a result of this. And that's not, it's not in the handbook flat out, right? As far as a lighter in particular, for whatever reason. And so my suggestion was, well, I asked them, what do they need to learn? And so we literally listed out what these students need. They need to learn about fire safety. That could have been a really detrimental situation, right? If what they were playing with actually caught on fire. They also need to learn about integrity, because that was, oh my gosh, the longest conversation ever in life, trying to get to the root of what actually happened because of the, digging the hole deeper with not being honest. And so we literally listed out all these things they need to learn. So we made a plan. So for the next week, And some days those students read articles about students or kids in other places in the world who were playing with lighters and that ended detrimental and lives were lost. So they read these articles, they wrote essays about these articles. And then a week or so later, they presented to a group of their peers what they learned. And their peers asked them questions. They challenged them on like why they even did that in the first place. And so they read these articles, they learned these things. And I would bet my last dollar that these students will not do that again, because you can see how that impacted them to learn what could have happened from their behavior, to like read about real life scenarios, and then to hear from their peers and know that they were not with the foolishness that happened with that situation. Like it was just a whole moment, right? That was just so beautiful. But that is discipline. They were taught something. They weren't just kicked out of school, right? They weren't just sent home, but they learned their lesson because they were disciplined correctly.
So from the depths of my heart, you are brilliant. You have so much value to give to, well, certainly my online community is grateful for you. I already know. I'm going to hear it in comments. But thank you so much for distilling your experiences and your wisdom. And thank you for your passion in this area of parenting.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. Thank you. So please tell us again the name of the course. I know I had never heard the word reparenting. I know that's part of it, but tell us again the name of this course to help us with our parenting.
Yes, Reparenting, tools to help heal your inner child while raising one.
Okay, tools to help heal your inner child while raising one. I love it. I love it. Well, Elyse, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast today. And one last question. The podcast is called Change. So if there's someone listening right now who wants to change their life, maybe it's a parent and they want to change the way that they're parenting, they want to get better results with their child, what's the first most important step that they need to take in order to change?
Oh, that's a really good question, David. And I'm gonna be honest, the first thing that comes to mind is forgiveness. Whether that's forgiving someone from your past or even forgiving yourself. Like that is a huge point in change, and really understanding that you are worthy of the change, right? You are worthy of the evolution and to evolve and grow. And so I really just say, just start there with the forgiveness. Because even when it comes to like parenting is such a touchy topic, right? People don't like to be told or even given advice on how to parent. It's such a touchy topic. And I would say the first step towards change is one, forgiving the past, if there was a rocky relationship with your own parent, and then even forgiving where you are right now in your own parenting journey, and know again, you are doing the best you know how with the tools you have. And as you continue to grow and get tools and evolve, there's the change. So that would be my advice on that.
Wow. Forgive yourself. Start with forgiveness. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Thank you, Change Podcast family. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Elyse Jones, thank you so much for just sharing your wisdom. And we look forward to learning more from you through your reparenting course. And so remind me, how do I follow you again on Instagram? I forgot what's the name of your page? Instagram,
Parenting for the Culture. So that's parenting, the number 4, the culture on Instagram.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
I forgot one more thing, David.
Yes.
For your listeners. So if they, I'm gonna have a promo code for your podcast listener. So if they enter the promo code David Griffiths with the S, they will get a discount on the course. So make sure you guys use that promo code David Griffiths to let me know that you were listening on this podcast to find out about the course.
So we got some podcast family love. All right. Thank you so much for doing that for my podcast family. All right. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day. And we thank you again for helping us change our lives.
Yes. Thank you, David.
All right. Take care.
You too.